let's start with today. In this session, we are going to see about an important concept called WMI and CIM. WMI and CIM, they both are something as an administrator or a system admin, you might already know what does that means. So, but we will be starting with the basic concept, what is WMI and where exactly it's come into the picture of PowerShell automation and what is CIM and everything. So before we start this WMI, okay, I'll give you a short history about what was happening, okay, uh, about WMI, all those things. So first of all, WMI, what is WMI? WMI is Windows Management Instrumentation. That is called WMI, and CIM is Common Information Model. Okay. So this WMI, I'll just show you. It is a service which will be running. Okay. Uh, what all the components? We are just seeing what is WMI first, so that then we can jump into actually how we are going to use it in PowerShell. So now I'm checking for WMI and Windows Management Instrumentation. You see this. So this is the service we are talking about. And if you look on the properties, you can see where is exactly located. Okay, all those things. And let me also do one more thing. I'll just type up start run. Okay, WMI mgmt.msc, which is very similar to how we manage the services and device manager. So that is this is Windows Management Instrumentation. Okay, this is where we will be able to see, configure, and control Windows Management Instrumentation. Okay, so I'll show these things so that you know it is all already a part of your basic computer, not even your domain related. It is a basic actual local computer. You will be having all these things. If you go to the properties, you will be seeing where things are getting located. You see all these this particular folder, right? Let's go there. See Windows System 32 and WBEM. WBEM is also again it's a kind of protocol. I don't want to give a lot of information. Just WBEM is as of now you can just remember it as a folder where all this WMI related will be stored. Okay, and we have just seen in when we go to WMI control, WMI location, you could see, and you could see backup and restore and security. And if I expand, there are some folders sort of thing, all those things. So that is what I want. First, I show what is that. Okay. Now, let's first see what is WMI. Okay. About the history, like what WMI is what WMI, let's say it is, basically a repository. Okay. Repository developed by Microsoft. Okay, it started from very basic. Okay, where when Windows NT was there, right? The history started from the long back. So what is this repository? What kind of repository I'm talking about? The repository which will control hardware and software, any hardware or any software. So what is this actually? Let's say you are install. Let's say around some 2000. Okay, 2000 where all these Windows NT, all those things are going, right. So at that time only where Microsoft started blooming all those things. So if you remember those times, like let's say Microsoft is an operating system, it released some basic drivers. Let's say what is drivers, right? Drivers is software piece, software which will be controlling hardware. So that is how things will be going. And when we install the operating system, it will have the basic drivers. And if at all, I'm talking about nearly some 20 years back, 20, or let's say 2000, yeah, let's say in the initial way of Microsoft. And whoever you might, some of the people might have seen Windows NT, Windows 98, all those things. Windows 98, even 95 was there, all those things. So these are all the operating systems, and these are all like how to say, only operating system was a full-fledged and graphical user interface, everything like Windows, you'll be having start folders, control panel, everything will be there. But while coming to hardware, okay, when it is a new hardware or supporting hardware, the basic operating system, whatever the operating system, Windows NT 95, all those things, I'm talking about till Windows 7, okay, Windows 7 and even Windows XP Service Pack 3, till that, okay, in this but Windows. So starting from this particular period till this one, this there will be a common problem, so or common an issue, or you might have seen this will happen. Okay, let's say you are purchasing a new kind of hardware. Let's say it can be just a mouse. Okay, it can be a mouse, but it can be just not a normal mouse with just two clicks. It might be a new mouse which you want to play in a joystick. You might have heard at that time, joystick to play games, right? So that kind of things, and then some kind of a mouse will be only having, it will just look like a ball actually. Okay, so all these are new on some printers. Okay, printers and all those things. So what are the new hardwares, okay, we are trying to plug and play now. Okay, now let's say now in today in 2020, if I purchase any of the software, okay, any of the hardware or anything, all I need to do is I just take it and then plug and play. I mean, there is something called plug and play, right? So it will just, if you just install, just connect it, the Windows will automatically, most of the time, almost nearly some 95% of the time, it will have all the drivers already there. Means kind of they are called as universal drivers, right? It will support almost all of the printers, whatever, literally all kind of hardwares that can be connected with a computer or a server. Okay, so that is today's scenario. But when we are talking about in these days, okay, that was not the case, right? So let's say basic drivers were supported, and those are all written in let's say some kind of kind of how we see .NET framework, right? Similarly, it can be any drivers, okay, any driver that controls hardware using Microsoft can be written, okay, and then that will be stored in the WMI, and that is called WMI repository. Okay, repository is kind of very similar to SQL database. When I say SQL database, it will have a table, and then within the table it will have rows, and within the table rows it will have data. So that is how it will be, right? You might have seen SQL DB, right? So this WMI repository you can consider very similar to SQL DB, and this is how the flow goes. Okay, let's say I'm talking about again this particular scenario. Okay, let's say uh, you are coming up with a new kind of joystick or some kind of new hardware. Okay, you manufacture a new hardware to work with Windows. Okay, and Microsoft will only provide the basic software. So what you have to do is, so since it is going to give only the basic software, the hardware, what you actually, let's say this is some kind of 3D printer or something, just for an example. Okay, This is what you invented or you manufactured. Okay. Now this 3D printer has to talk with the operating system. Then only they will both will work, right? To make it talk with your new hardware. Okay. Let's say 3D printer. You need driver. Okay. What is the driver? Again, it is just very similar to uh, let's we were seeing the objects, right? Let's say object oriented PowerShell is an object oriented program. Now this 3D printer is an object, and this driver will have the same kind of set of things. It will have properties, and it will have functions. Okay. And what these properties will have, it will be related to this printer. What is, whether it may be you are the manufacturer, it will have your name, what type of printer, what is the model, all those hardware actual not related to price, all those things. I'm talking about the actual properties that is required to talk to operating system, so that the OS will know what kind of device is it. For an example, is it an input device or output device, all those things, whether it will work, how it will exactly work, OS has to know, right? That information will be given in two forms to the in the through the driver. Driver is again a piece of software. In that software, it will be having properties and functions. So whenever we have properties and functions, that is again, that is just object related. And whenever we say object, we can call it as class. Okay. So this is the first time maybe in PowerShell we are actually hearing about class. Okay, class is nothing but for. I'll just come to the class. Okay, let's just keep it for as of now. Okay, keep it aside. We'll come this back to this class. I have already explained at the time I was talking about the properties and then functions, and then I was giving some example. I'll connect it to this class. Okay. So universally everything will be working in the same model, but as of now, in spite of object, you consider this as a class. Okay. Here in PowerShell, we are saying everything object, right? In spite of that, we say this all are classes, and this classes will have instances. Don't worry about classes instances. As of now, you just consider it's a 3D printer. You need to write your own code. Okay, you need to develop your own software. Okay, which is a driver. The driver will have the properties and functions, and then that is because the operating system has to interact. Then only the user will give instruction to OS, and then through OS it will be the 3D printer will be working, right? So it is completely your, actually, as a manufacturer, you are the hardware manufacturer. It is actually your 100% responsibility, okay, to make sure this software works fine. So you develop it. What are the things you will be doing? Let's say you have some. Let's say you and your partner have developed this printer, very similar to Steve Jobs. At that time, they started with his friend, right? So just two people started Apple. Okay, Steve Jobs. Similarly, let's say you and your friend starting this particular 3D printer. Okay, how they started the computer. Similarly, you are doing the printer. So you manufactured the hardware, and then you are the one actually developing the software. In another word, driver for this printer, okay, or this hardware. Okay. And since you are the one, and you are the one, your whole ambition, your whole objective here is to make this work. This printer has to work. Okay, and this will be written in a form of, let's say, properties and functions. Okay, that's the only thing OS is all about. The OS needs to communicate. So it's like, I'm just saying, this is all the OS needs. Okay, you can write it in any language. Okay, it can be any programming language, as long as it is understandable by the operating system and supported by operating system. Mostly it was at that time C, C++, Java, those kind of things. Okay, so you choose your own programming language, and then you develop. Okay, I mean, there is you are just two people, right? You don't have to worry about whether it is tested or it is bug free. Okay, and it is stable, it is documented well. All those are something you don't worry. All you need is just make this work and give it to them, and then give it put it in a CD and give it to them. So whenever at that time, you remember, right? When maybe you might have tried it. Whenever you are purchasing a hardware, you'll be just getting a let's say a CD with a driver. Okay, driver CD, we see that, right? In that driver there will be an exe file, and if we execute it, this hardware will be enabled and then it will start work. So with OS, this is how the process goes, right? Now here, what all the things happens is, Microsoft writes everything, all the basic drivers and everything, okay, and putting into the WMA repository. And whatever you are actually installing, right? You actually write everything, and Microsoft given, I mean, as per Microsoft standard, all these things has to go to WMA repository. Okay. In other words, just consider that is the repository where all the hardware related, network related, everything will be stored. Okay. Now, so this also goes to repository. Now, so let's say Microsoft, right? Microsoft has some basic drivers that is also here, and you are developing it, and this is also here. Microsoft has well funded, have lot of very good developers. They have their own, let's say, programming language, and then protocols like how we have ITIL, all those things, right? So similarly, protocols or standards, coding standards, those are the things they will follow. Okay, but as you and your friend are doing this, that is something you don't have to worry about it. Okay, this is all for big companies. For small companies, this ITIL is something not related to coding. I'm just giving a standard. Okay, so these are all things you don't worry. But imagine this is well developed and well shaped coding, and then it is in the driver format, putting into the repository, and you are developing it. It is, let's say, even DOS, initially it's called dirty OS. Okay, that is an official name. If you just go and search for DOS, what is the actual name? Why we call as a DOS? It is a dirty OS. Okay, that is what they named it initially, because all it does is will communicate with your operating system. I mean, it is an operating system which will make you communicate with your computer. That is the OS, right? So similarly, let's say this is the dirty driver, means it doesn't have a coding protocol, nothing. Okay, it is now you developed it and then you are putting into the repository, and this repository now has two things, and let's say Microsoft put some 100 drivers, and then you put some two drivers or three drivers. Let's say similarly, HP released a lot of hardware. They actually rocked the complete hardware industry, right? When Microsoft and Apple were, focusing on software, HP and Dell, all those actually focused. Dell and IBM all focused on hardware, right? But Microsoft and Apple, all those people focused on software. Even though these people are giving hardware, okay, let's say it can be a three all-in-one printer, lot of things. Okay, they released almost all kind of standards, but again, this is the time they are starting, and this is also the HP also starting. These are all the big companies. They will also have their own drivers, and then all these controlling hardware related things. Everything again goes to WMA repository. Okay, so now you see why we are calling this as a repository. Okay, Windows management instrumentation is I have no idea why they named it like that, but as of now, our that honest real plain and simple English, WMI is something where all the hardware related, software related thing will be there, mostly related to hardware. Okay, and even you can write anything. Actually, you write anything, whatever you want to put, and if you are wanted to put it and save it in WMI repository, that is possible. So now, similar to you, okay, how you started your own 3D printer, there might be millions of people starting at that time. They know Windows is successful. They will also try to do their own coding, drivers, softwares, everything, right? So at the end, what was the result? WMI repository uh, went from controlled by Microsoft. Okay, even though it is from Microsoft, it actually went out of hand. Okay, it was no proper documentation. Okay, it was not a standard followed. All those things. Anyone can write anything, and then as long as it is working, as long as it is supported, it will work. So that is the current scenario about WMA repository. It is, even Microsoft as of now claims WMA. If you are using WMA repository, whether it is Microsoft or HP, Dell, or even third party, anything, you can use it, but there won't be a proper documentation or a standard. So this is what they say. Being said that, still till now I'm running Windows 10, still we are using WMI because lot of things are based on WMI. Okay, so lots and lots of operating system related hardware control, and then any third party, lot of things using WMI. Okay, so now you understand what is WMI, and what, where actually coming this let's say repository we have seen. And I shown you the folder, right? This is the folder, and then I'll show where exactly it is getting stored. These MOF files and those things, right? This is where everything will be getting stored. Okay, MOF, and there will be a, let me try. Okay, so these are all the files where things will be getting stored. Okay, like as I said, you can write your own file, and then you can command and install. You can also see uninstall all those things, right? It's very similar to installing a software. Okay, but it is, most of things are related to the hardware, and things will be stored in this particular let's say this is right. This is kind of a database. Okay, this is the database where things will be repository. This is where things will be getting stored. Okay, and that's a one file, and if you delete it, everything will be gone. So that's, I mean, you don't have to worry what is the file name, where it is, nothing. I'm just want to give you a overall picture so that you can actually connect it why we are actually using WMI. Okay, so now we know why WMI. Now let me go to the missing piece of the puzzle. I was saying class, right? Class. So you remember in objects, we were handling objects, and when I was introducing objects, I was giving you an example of a bank, or bank of a class. Let's say you are going to a bank, okay, or you are going to a school, okay, and there you have, there will be a forms, right, to deposit or to for a check. All those things you will have a forms, right? The forms will be empty, right? Means there is no data, but it will be empty, but it will have some fields on it. Let's say name, amount, um, denomination, and date, your, let's say, other details. Okay, all those details will be there, and this will be kind of in all the deposit forms. It will be there, and all the check, it will be different form, but the, you get the point, right? This, all the things will be there in all of them. Let's say I walk in there, and then I write what all things I'll be filling. I'll be filling with let's say name will be any maybe my name. Okay, Satish Kumar Lango. An amount is let's say 1,000 rupees or $1,000, and denomination is 1,000. and what is the date. Okay, now you are going there. Okay, and then you are actually filling it. Okay, and let's say Subramania, and then you are putting a different denominator, and then those kind of things. Now the point is, this deposit check has a format, and based on what who's getting filled, this will be changed. This only the data will change. Now let's take the same kind of in the schema. Let's say in Active Directory schema. Let's say AD schema. Okay. When what is schema? It is just a blueprint, right? Blueprint of an object, an AD object. Let's say what is a blueprint? Let's say AD user. It will say it will have first name. You see the same pattern, right? First name, last name, email, all those things. Okay. Any user you are trying to click on, right click on Active Directory users or click on new user. This is what it will give you, like a form, right? It is asking you to fill, right? That is where it is actually coming from. It is coming from the schema. And when I fill all these information, fill all information, it will check for a few emails should not be duplicated, all those things, then it will create. Now whatever this I'm saying, right, this common structure, okay, common structure of an object, okay, how it should be, like let's say properties names and the classes. When I say class, it can be in this scenario, it can be, let's say if it is a user, okay, what all the sorry, it's not class, it's a functions. Properties, another one is functions. What are the functions you can do with the user? You can rename, you can add a middle name, okay, and then you can delete the user. Those are all the functions we can do, right? Similar, okay, so that all the things and that all the functions. Now once you create a user called Sanjit, okay, now even though all this information are related to Sanjit, functions will be almost same, okay, right? You can rename, add, delete, everything you can do with the same. It can be anyone, it can be John, it can be anyone, right? So what this common structure, this properties and this is called is class. Okay, this is what called class. So here, whatever we are saying, right? Class, and we started from this example, and we said some forms, empty forms, and it will have some details, right? Similarly, these I mean, technically, okay, if something has a structure, common structure for an object, it will be just properties and functions. That is called class. And whenever we take an instance, okay, let's say from the blueprint we create a new user. This user is getting created, right? This user is an instance of a class, just like taking a copy, okay, copy from the class, which is let's say blueprint as of now, okay, and fill with the details, which is customized user. So this will be the case everywhere. Let's say take a service, list of services. If you go to the service and if you get a member, get hyphen member, right? That's the same thing, right? It will have all the properties and functions. And if you take only one service, you will be seeing that particular service related information. So connecting back, this class is nothing but whatever this get hyphen member is displaying, right? Let's say go to PowerShell, get hyphen service, and then get hyphen member. You see this structure, right? This is what the class is. And if you see only one data, let's say Windows service, right? Let's take, and if you see take one service, it will be, you will be seeing the customized actual data, right? So this is an instant bits. Okay, in this example, service is the class. Okay, and get hyphen service, a particular service will have the values, right? That is an instance of the class. Okay, again, this is like all very common in all the object oriented programming languages. In some programming languages they call it as a class, and if we are not at all technical, we can plain and simple call it as a blueprint. Okay, here we are saying, right, it's just a blueprint, and we are, whatever we are filling the details, it is customized information. Okay, that is the thing. Okay, so now what are the things we put together? Like WMI is a repository very similar to SQL database, means it will have tables and then it will have columns. Okay, columns is just like here the name, display name, all those are columns, and the data is actual data, bits, background, all those things. Okay, so it will be, since it is SQL related, you can actually do select star. Okay, this is a SQL DB, so they know it. Select star from particular table name. Okay, and if you execute it, if you give, let's say this is a service. Okay, let's say table name is I mean, this will not work, I'm just giving an example. Okay, services, let's say. Okay, if you execute this, it will go ahead and take all the services and list for you, okay, as a data. Okay, reason why I'm mentioning this is because it will work like a SQL DB. Okay, means it will support the query. Okay, this is called querying the WMI. Okay, now why I'm giving this so much details about WMI and all those things. Okay, and what is CIM? We started with CIM, but we didn't see anything, right? CIM is nothing but it's as a, from the name, common informational model. Okay, CIM is just a protocol sort of thing. Okay, protocol, or just let's say, or a standard, you can say. Okay, what kind of standard? It will be like parent, child, within that another uh, group of child, so on so forth. Okay, and have you ever seen this particular model? I mean, data will be arranged in this model. Okay, I'm just going to show you how our computer is arranged. This is how, right? Let's say this is my PC, this is the root, right? Let's say this is where my computer, it has drives, which 5 drives, let's say. And if I open a drive, it will have folders, and if I have open the folders, it have subfolders, and it might have subfolders and files, and if I open the files, it might have the data, right? So this can be keep on going, you can keep on create any number. Okay, so this model is, okay, like you have a parent, child, that relationship, right? In that model, that's the easiest way to organize data anywhere. Okay, in your real life as well as in the computer. Okay, let's say we are using any time management software, or a project management software, or anything. If you are a project manager, what are the things you will do? You will have a portfolio, or if you portfolio is something a technical term. Let's take a general term. Okay, let's say company name, and then you have all projects. Okay, I'm talking about the project management tool. In all projects, you will have project name, and in that you will be having so milestones, and in that you will be having task, subtask, everything, right? Just give me one moment. So that is exactly how everything will be organized. Most of our life, actually, if you see, this is how most of things will be organized in Windows and Linux everywhere. Even in the C drive, I mean, navigating in the things, right? So this particular format or the standard is called Common Information Model. Why we are seeing that? I just right click on it and go to Properties, and then here, this is what I want to show you. You see this, don't worry about whether I clicked on security. Okay, just see how it is. You see root folder, another folder, within that another folder. So hardware, HP, we were seeing HP related, right? Microsoft related, and other than that WMI. Okay, so those are all things, and even you can write your own code and then you can put it together, everything. And almost all the hardware related things will be here in WMI. Okay, so that is why we call it, I mean, that is the relation between CIM and WMI. Now we know where it is actually getting stored, and the database, all those things. I wanted to show you one more last tool before we actually get into PowerShell. Okay, I'm right click on it, running as administrator. Okay, this is a tool to test. Okay, I'm just, you see root, I'm just copying this, so I'm going to show you how we are actually going to use this in PowerShell. I just copy and I'm not doing anything. Okay, I'm just connecting. Okay, and then before connecting, all these were like not able to click. Okay, everything was disabled. Now everything will be enabled. Okay, let's say in 32 or something, anything you can type. If we are typing the wrong name, you will not be getting. Okay, I'll show you what to type. Okay, basically this is how you will be actually connecting, okay, to that particular WMI database. If you are connecting to that particular CIM v2, you will be able to see the classes is nothing but a fancy name for a blueprint. And then in instances is nothing but the what are all the things you will be actually seeing within the particular class or instance. Let's say class is service, and enum instances will be having all the services. Okay, query is where I said, right, select star whatever the table name. Okay, it can be Win32 operating system or something. Okay, I'll be showing how it goes. You will be seeing the result. Okay, I just want to show you, we are going to not use any of them, okay, on any of these tools, but you need to know what is the underlying principle, where we are exactly taking it. Okay, now being said that, let's come to finally to PowerShell. What exactly we are going to do with the WMI and CMI? Let's forget the CIM because it is just a model name, and then the WMI now also they upgraded. Okay, WMI was a kind of technology and a repository, right? They now Microsoft added something called WinRM. Okay, WinRM is remote management, Windows remote management. Okay, WMI and WinRM. Okay, these are all the two important key elements to connect remote computers and perform any operations. I'm going to repeat it so that you know the impact. What does that means? WMI and WinRM. WinRM is again, imagine this is the old version and this is a new version. Okay, and they do the same thing. Okay, they have the same kind of structure and everything. They are the one will allow you to connect remote computers and perform any, let's say, IT operations. Okay, so what does that mean? If these two are not there, you will not be able to connect to your maybe your server or let's say 100 computers or anything. So what makes PowerShell very powerful? Because you are able to do connect multiple computers, you are able to do multiple operations, and these two are the basic fundamentals why it is actually working. Okay, so that's the reason we were saying all this story, and how we are going to do, we will be seeing. So why do we need this? Because WMI is where all the information, how to connect to your basic network, how to actually, in other words, it is actually will be having all the information how to query and connect and modify, or let's just say CORD. Okay, CORD is create, update, read, right? The read is called query. Okay, and how to CORD any hardware. Okay, when I say hardware, even the NIC network is also hardware, right? So everything through WMI and WinRM is possible, through which you will be able to connect again remote computers and everything. So we need to know WMI and WinRM how exactly working. And as I said, WMI is exactly the same thing, and WinRM is just a updated version. I'll just again show in the services, Windows remote management. Okay, you see this Windows remote management, this will be running. Okay, and WS management is another name for us. We also call it, I mean, just okay, if at all it is not confusing, I'm just saying. Okay, in WS management. Okay, W hyphen management. So all you need is just one key takeaway: WMI and WinRM connects and queries and do anything related to your hardware, and that is actually going to make PowerShell more effective for you. What are the things you can do? As I said, CURD can and do anything, right? So let's say you can query the all the services running in other computers. Okay, and you can check the BIOS version, and you can check the disk information and free space and CPU utilization, everything. Okay, whatever we are able to do with the .NET framework, right? Okay, all those, actually more than .NET framework, you can do more. I mean, sometimes few things will not be available even in .NET framework because of security reason, but it will be, it is just like you are getting the complete access to your hardware. Okay, if you know how to use the WMI, it means you are actually become completely limitless. You can do anything. Okay, and people will be doing the hacking, all those things, right? They actually go to this level. Okay, they will not try to use the .NET framework or C++, those kind of upper layer to hack. They will go to the bottom layer, which is actual hardware. Okay, they will actually not even communicate using HTTP or all these standard protocol. They will find their own protocol and use it, because they are very strong how these things work. Okay, and then when you know how things works, you can amend or change it accordingly. You know what is the loophole, all those things. So this is where people will be hacking. Okay, so I mean, in this level, there is nothing related to hacking and WMI. I'm just giving you just an information. You don't have to worry about hacking, or you can hack with the WMI. Nothing like that. I'm just giving you, that's the last information. I mean, that's the bottom layer of the security, and you can go to there, means you can do anything. Okay, that is what. And real time, as I said, you can do a hardware inventory and then software inventory, and then you can initiate a particular process. You can initiate, install something, update something, uninstall something, capture. You can do anything. Okay, everything. Remote management will work only when you are actually using WMI and WinRM. And all you need to do is just make sure WMI, if you are, sometimes the WinRM is not enough, WMI will be most probably, if you are running Windows 10 or some other machine, it might be stopped. Okay, or it will be in a manual mode, means whenever it is required, it will just start and then stop. Okay, So make sure it is not in disabled mode, and this will be mostly running if you are running after Windows 7 or something. Okay. Now we saved this root -cim, right? So let's come back and let's try some commands. Okay, this is all structure. As I said, you don't have to worry anything. Okay, DOM, WS man, all those things, and even if you go and read it, you will be getting confused. All you need to understand, or just the thing matters is WMI is the old version, WinRM is the new version. Everything goes to the repository. Repository is the one actually going to communicate with your hardware. Okay, and repository it will be in a CIM format, which is like a parent and then folder, so on so forth, and finally the data will be an object will be having classes will be having instances, like very similar to your actual you see this, we just copied, right? Root sim, that is the example they are actually giving. How to find documentation, I will show you, don't worry about it. Okay, here, let's try the first command. Okay, um, I'm gonna try give you a command which will be actually giving you some back. All right. Okay, let's start with our own get-help command, and I'm typing WMI so that you know what all the commands. This GWMI is an alias. Don't use it. Don't use all these things. Okay, these are all alias, and most of the people using it and then do not use it. Go with get-WMI object. This is your actual key. You'll be actually using these two commands, get-WMI object and invoke-WMI method. Okay. Get is again from the name itself, it will get some information, and invoke I'll show you right away. Here we go. Let's try get-help and hit enter. So what it will do, it will get the instance of WMI classes or information available in the variable classes. It's confusing, but simply it will just go ahead and collect the information. How what get service does similarly, but it is going to query the database, the WMI database, and gonna get you the information. And okay, so I copied, right? Let me try get WMI object and hit enter. It will not execute without you mention the class. The reason is your operating system, even though you just have one laptop without even connecting with your mouse or anything, or anything at all, you just buy a new laptop. It has hundreds of hardwares, right? We have a lot of devices already installed, including motherboard, BIOS, everything. So if we are just typing get-WMI object, it is going to give everything, which is just 100 times more information than what we type get-event viewer. Event log, it will take long time just to display the information, right? Imagine if you are collecting all the information about your hardware. Okay, just by typing this, that is gonna first that is not good idea to get all the information. Second, for a security reason, they made it class as a class is something we just said, right? So you don't have to remember the class names. I will be showing you. Okay, let's type this class name. What is the class name we copied? Okay, root-cimv2 and hit enter. Okay, it's gonna be very strict. Okay, reason is okay, very strict in the sense if there is a spelling mistake. First thing, you remember we are doing PowerShell command, and if you see the underlying command is select star from root and then whatever for the name you typed, right? So you remember I said you this. This query I said, right? So this is what the query, okay, and select. I said you this, right? WMI query, and this is what, even though we execute this at the underlying, this is what actually will be called. This is how it will work. Now let's get some examples so that we'll see that hyphen examples. Okay, here get hyphen WMI object win32 processor. Okay, I copy it and I'm going to put all of them in the notepad so that I don't have to run it again and again. From the name itself, Win32 process is going to get all the information about Win32 process. Process is nothing but your actual process. Okay. Even .NET is actually getting the information from here. Okay. Imagine like this, layer by layer. Okay. WMI or WinRM. From there, you will be having .NET framework. And from there, you are using PowerShell. Now, what is happening is you are actually connecting directly to this using select star, okay, or whatever the internal query, okay, but using a command called get hyphen WMI. Okay, we are just skipping this layer and then going directly to this layer means we have control, complete control. Okay, even sometimes .NET framework will not get a lot of information. Okay, let's say we are getting only 80%, here we have a complete 100%. Okay, the takeaway is, even though it's coming from .NET, it is actually going and then getting from this particular Win32 only. Okay, so let's try that. That one as something we can use it, and then computer name, we'll try that as well, and we'll try this. Okay, these are all actually useful commands, so I'm gonna try. This is to show you the query. And this is looking complicated, but I'll make it easier so that you can do it. And then this is to list some particular information. We'll put it here actually. Okay, and okay. Now let's do one by one. Okay, and let's start the transcript and let's go to our folder. So this is the command we first ran, and then we are going to run this command. Get hyphen WMI object hyphen class win32 process. You see here, this is the thing. Okay, win32 underscore process, and typing tab, it will not work unless until you know the exact name. It will not actually, the PowerShell will not resolve basically this one. Okay, I hit enter, it gives a lot of information. I'm going to stop it, and we are going to take only one thing. What, or yeah, this is actually giving all the information. We are going to take only one thing. Okay, let's just check this one, hyphen dot, I mean underscore underscore GNUS, right? Just see that, and let's scroll. Where is the next place it is coming? Here, right? So this is the where the second object is actually starting. So this is what the first instance. Okay, and this is all this information coming from where I shown you, right? Properties. Okay, from this particular location. Okay, in this location, from this particular folders. I mean, this is the structure. This is where we are getting CIM/2, and then what we are doing here is Windows 32 process, right? That is actually coming from directly from the Windows 32. Okay, so this is where it is coming, and let us see. Let's don't worry about dollar underscore underscore class, super class, all these underscore underscore things. That is something you don't have to worry about it. The only thing you notice is root CIM v2 is something I did not mention. Okay, I just mentioned Win32 process, and it is actually okay as of now. Just okay, you remember? I'll just show you 1 second. Okay, you remember I'm just running this administrator. When I click, I am not typing anything. I click on connect. It by default it is connecting to root-cimv2, right? So that's exactly happening here also. Okay, it is actually connecting by default, so I don't have to type anything. And this Win32, I'm going to type here. See here. Okay, class Win32 underscore process. I'm gonna type. It's giving some result, right? Don't worry, it is nothing. It's not showing anything. But let's say I'm gonna make a mistake. It will just show it is an error. That's more than enough for me to understand I'm typing actually correctly. Okay. Now I click on OK. Now you see, right? All these process handles. Okay, this is actually the process handlers, and we can query more information. Okay, let's say select star, hopefully. Okay, we will get the information, and click on apply. This is again giving all the information. Okay, almost the same thing. Okay, the point is this is all information coming from this particular database. Okay, and this root CIMv2 is something by default. Okay, you don't have to mention it. And as I said, underscore underscore and class, super class, forget about everything. Okay, that is all something not required. The reason why I want to show you here is, let's say you see the caption and what are the things handle you see, that is something we will be using. Name system idle process. Okay, name something we will be using. What is the priority? Okay, those are all things we will be actually using. VM is virtual memory, right? So all those things related to a particular process called system idle process. Now, same thing, process name, next to process name is system. Okay, another process name is registry. These are all the process running in your computer, and that is what actually we are getting. Okay, now we can, now once we retry, we can do all the things, select and then filtering, all those things. Okay, let's say select name, right? So in spite of that, let's say try name comma id. Let's try that. Okay, id is not there. Let's try process id. Okay, that's something, process id is there, right? So you can take it, and then again, where I'm getting it right from this previous information, whatever I executed, right? From here, I'm getting this. Okay, and what is that reason? Why should I not run? Okay, why should I not get hyphen service is also giving the same information? Okay, let's take get hyphen service, and let's take one service. What is the one? Hmm. Win hyphen rm. Okay, let's try something bits. Okay, let's try that, and then fl hyphen property star, and hit enter. We are getting only these things. How many? Let us count it. let's force that as well, and then I'm getting this. Okay, and I'm gonna sorry, I'm gonna put it dot count. I'm getting let's say how much. It's not actually counting. Okay, maybe I'll just count 1, 2, 3, around some 10, 15, 20, let's say. Okay, or less than 20. Okay, but let's type this command. Okay, process select hyphen object, or where hyphen object dollar underscore dot process name hyphen like PITS star file, and then we'll type name and hit enter. Okay, what is the name? Process name. It is going. Do I have? Let's try this. I'm gonna put it to out hyphen file. Okay, WMI dot text, because it's a long information. I wanted to actually find what is the name for bits. So it's not there. So I'm going to. Am I typing the right thing? Okay. First thing, I'm doing a huge mistake. What is that? I'm typing get hyphen service, but I'm typing process, right? So obviously that's a blunder mistake. And then in spite of that, let's type service. Are we getting good? Now let's pipe it. So these are all the places we will be start using the out hyphen file, because this is too much information for us to actually to check, right? So let's try this. Okay, bits, right? So this is what I want to show you here. What is the amount of information we are actually seeing, right, while comparing to this? Okay, let's just put it in a notepad. Okay, this is what we are seeing in one hand. From WMI. Okay, and let us try the same command, the another command we tried, right, in bits force, and let's out hyphen file. Let's say get service bits dot text, and hit enter. Get service bits. Now this is what we get it from the direct object. Okay, so what does that means? We can have all the information, everything, bits and pieces of everything. Okay, not only whatever the .NET is returning to us. Okay, .NET returning only few things for us. Okay, and this returns almost everything. Okay, do we have anything missing here? And then okay, I'll show something that will be useful. Okay, system name. Do we have a system name on it? This one, it's not there, right? And then let us say, so those are the things. Okay, similarly how we have the properties, right? Similarly few of the methods will also not be available. Okay, only available from WinRM and not be available in the normal .NET. If we access through the direct command, it will not be available. We have to actually use WMI to do it. So in a simple plain, this is actually from limited, I mean not limited, okay, it's we have everything, okay, but still it is limited. Okay, let's say 80% from .NET, and this is the complete 100%. Okay, you have exit code, all those things. Okay, exit code, lot of information, 100% information directly from the hardware itself, or the inventory itself. Okay, so that is what the difference, and this is coming from either WMI. Sometimes it will come from WMI, sometimes it's coming from WinRM. So that's the whole point here, and I think we made the clear point how much important WMI and WinRM. uh, so that's the thing. Okay, so I know that's all. So that's the thing, and about why we need WMI, why we need WinRM, and that why we actually use in PowerShell, and what all the privileges we have while comparing to this one. Okay, lot of information, we can have everything. Okay, so that is what all about it. Now let's go ahead and see some other extra, examples. Now since let's go ahead and try a few practical commands. Before that, we are going to do everything related to the actual hardware, and then we are going to query a lot of details, right, information. And there is a possibility, if I'm running it from the normal Windows PowerShell, I might not able to query and then get the desired output. So whenever, I mean, first of all, by default, I suggested you to run with administrator. So I'm killing this, and then I'm going to run it as an administrator, and then make sure whenever you are actually using WinRM or BMI, you will be using running as an administrator. That's very, very important too. Okay, so I restarted, and let's go to, let's go one by one, just a few examples. Okay, you will be able to understand. Now we are seeing WMI process. Okay, and we see a lot of things. Okay, and then let's say WMI service, all those things, right? Now I know, well, I mean, I'm getting it from some PPT or somewhere, and I know Windows 32. So what if I don't know what all the things are inside? I wanted to know all the objects within that Wins 32, right? So that is where we'll be doing this particular command. Okay, get hyphen WMI object. Okay, namespace is nothing but how we call a domain name, right? A domain name is actually a namespace. In your Active Directory, your Active Directory domain name is a namespace. If in the internet world, the domain name, let's say it can be a website, is your namespace. Namespace is just a space actually having a scope. Okay, so you might have know that, but namespace, so that you remember, I just mentioned a bit about it. So root hyphen CIMV2, you don't have to remember. Okay, you can just go to that particular folder and then connect, and you can find it, or you can just Google it. This is something by default, you don't have to remember. CIMV2 is again easy to remember, but let's put it list, and then hit enter. It's gonna run for a long, maybe at least just for a seconds. Okay, let it run. And you see, these are all the things we have, and these are all the things we have access to. Okay, and some of these will not even available in the PowerShell. Okay, you will be having performance related, all those things, performance. Let's say volume support, device bus, though that kind of granular hardware related. Okay, file storage, and then group user, process, all those things. You can just go through, okay, all those things, and then you can do check those things. and physical memory. Okay, now you see two things. Okay, one is CIM underscore and win32 underscore, right? We will be coming to CIM underscore. Okay, CIM, we already know what is CIM. Okay, but there is another command to make it little bit more easier to get more information. Okay, if you don't worry about what is this CIM underscore, some things are starting with win32. Okay, don't worry about it. As of now, just see, these are all the things we have in our repository. These are all the things under root 32. Okay, and what if I want to see, I mean, as I said, you remember this one, right? You remember when I say CIM, it will be having this kind of thing, a common information model, parent, child, another child, subfolders, folders. So there is a possibility it can be a kind of folder sort of thing. Within that there might be a lot of things. So how we will be using get hyphen child item. Okay, and then there is an option called recurse. Recurse, we know, right, from the name itself. If there is a folder, let me first type, it is going to give me this. And if I have a folder, okay, and if I just type cd, okay, child item, I'm going to count how many are there, dot count, there are 35. Okay, and if I just type recurse and then type, it will be 248. So you get the point, right? Within the folder it will go and fetch everything and give you. That's the same concept here. In spite of, I mean, with the list, if I just type recurse, it will go ahead. First we'll see how many objects are there here, dot count. Okay, and hyphen recurse dot count. While this is executing, okay, here we go. So it is almost 800 objects more. Okay, means there are a lot of recurse. Okay, so this is the complete command. Okay, oh, let me start transcript. I'm sorry because I stopped it. 23 and, I'll quickly run the commands what we are trying. This is one command. Another command is this one, and recurse, and we tried this one, this one. This is just to show you an example, and this is to show you how to use this recurse. Now these commands are there. I'll be sharing you this transcript. You can use it. You don't have to remember. So first answer, we got the first answer. What if we don't know these names? All you need is, the first thing is, this is the one. Okay, and that's the first command. Okay, and then from there we can take any one of them. Okay, let us say, instead of recurse, let's just keep this one here. There is an option to sort object by the name. Okay, and hit that. Type it, sort, and let us try name. This will sort it according to name. Now there is no CAM Win32, that confusion. And since this is like sorted by the name, you can easily go navigate quickly to where you want, because it is in alphabetical order. Okay, so that is how you need to actually sort it with a name. Okay, and what else? We'll come to get CIM class. Okay, now let's introduce the same thing. Okay, I'm gonna just try this one. Okay, this is what I'm getting. Let's say hyphen list. Okay, and we know this is gonna give all those things. And instead of WMI object, I'm going to type get hyphen CIM class. Okay, and then hit enter. You see, they both has almost, let's take this Windows 32 device change event, right? They have the same thing. Okay, they are almost on, the same result, everything. Okay, the only difference is this is the upgraded command. In other words, this is the new command. Okay, like let's say, so I say whenever the new versions are released, there will be new commands added and then old commands depreciated, right? But Microsoft is not able to deprecate the WinRM, which is this command win get hyphen WMI object, because lot of things are depends on that, and it is a kind of core command. So even though they bring another modern version to give you more detailed information in a more formatted way, all those things, still both are there. Okay, and you can either use this or that, but slowly you will be actually there will be some benefits. Let's say if I just type this, okay, it will not execute it. Okay, let us screen the screen, and then I just type it and hit enter, it will be executing. Okay, uh, here this is the command, and if I type bin WMI object and then run this, it will be asking for the class name. Okay, so those are the things I mentioned. Okay, I mean to say they made some improvements. It's nothing but instead of you type the class or hyphen list to make this, all you need to do is you need to add a list, then it will work. Okay, but even though the results are there, same result, this is making your life easier, right? So that's the whole point. They both are going to do the same thing. Okay, whatever the command we are running, we can use get hyphen CIM class, and then you can run exactly the same thing, including the query, everything. Okay, let's try. What's the command we tried? Let's say get hyphen WMI object hyphen class win32 underscore BIOS. Let me check is there. Okay, BIOS is there, right? Okay. Now I tried it. Now let's say sim class and hit enter. This is what I mean to say. Okay, all the information usually, okay, let's say if I get hyphen service, okay, and what's the service? It's the service. Now you see in this format, right? Status, name, header, and then it is in a table format, and then you are able to see it in a more readable format. But when we are using the old one, it is just plainly giving the information, right? And so that is the thing. Okay, just this is an old raw command, and Microsoft is trying to give you more easy and then most readable. That's the whole point of CIM class. Okay, and other than that, nothing is actually from where it is getting all the other information or the same thing. Okay, now being said that, let's go to the second one. We know now, let's say what to type: win32 process, BIOS, service, all those things. Now let's try format list. As I said, format list, get hyphen member, anything after this pipeline, you can use the usual things that we can use usually, like the format, select, measure, anything that you want, as long as it is making sense, it will be working. Okay, it will go ahead and fetch this particular BIOS. Okay, when I'm not putting hyphen property list, it was giving only few information, right? Let's say here it is going to give you only 4 or 5 information, and this is the command to give all the information, as we know in all the scenario, right? Let's say get hyphen service, if you just replace with get hyphen service, that hyphen property will fetch all the properties, and you will be seeing all of them. Similarly, this is also no exception, get hyphen member. Pay close attention. This is where we are actually introducing in the WMI object. We are actually going to check what is the methods. Okay, BIOS, we know it is very limited. We cannot do much on that. Let us try process. Property methods. Here we go. So get owner seed, terminate. Okay, if you see, let's get hyphen process and then get hyphen member, hit enter, and then the method you could see, let's say close, okay, dispose, those kind of things. Okay, and here if you see, let's say something, let's say terminate is actually going to kill. Okay, that is very equivalent to close. Okay, so the point is, even though the name will be little bit changing, it will be actually doing the same thing. Okay, changing the priority, all those things. Okay, and this will go on and get the member of this particular object in this WMI object format. Okay, so that even though they are all actually pointing about one particular service, okay, this .NET framework, again, it is as I said, this is a layer, right? It is a layer actually between WMI, the actual hardware. Let's say hardware is there, hardware or software. Okay, WMI. Okay, and WinRM. We are using directly querying and then using WMI or SIM and using PowerShell. Okay, and when we are using .NET, it is actually let's say more than this raw information. So it will, the PowerShell, I mean Microsoft will be putting lot of effort to make this very much standard. So not only you as an administrator will be able to work, whoever is developing, it can be anyone. Okay, it can be a software engineer or somebody who wanted to develop a, some custom software. Let's, you remember there was a company called Quest, right? Quest is now owned by Dell, but their actual business model is this. Okay, business model is Microsoft will release a software. Okay, Microsoft will release a software. Okay, let's say for an example, AD or Exchange or anything. Okay, what Quest will do is there will be some mandatory things will be missing. Okay, let's say AD management, bulk management. Okay, Exchange migration, those are all the tools everyone needs. Okay, on a day-to-day basis, or big companies they will be using, but these are all things Microsoft will not develop. What Quest will do, they will develop, okay, develop based on whatever the software they giving, right? They say, let's say they are giving the .NET framework. Based on that, they will develop their own software and they will sell it for you. Okay, and finally, I mean, currently Quest is owned by Dell. Okay, I mean, they purchased it, but this is the thing. Okay, so .NET framework is not only for you as an administrator. The Microsoft will be putting lots and lots of effort to make it universally easy to adapt for anyone who are developing either a software or you are trying to administrate or anything. Okay, so that's the point. So this will be more sophisticated, more will be having lots and lots of options. Okay, in a form of functions and properties. Okay, sophisticated function and sophisticated properties. Okay, but again, all these gonna be doing it through the WinRM, through at the end at the hardware and software. So this is what, and why we are again using this. Sometimes, most of the times, okay, we will not, this will, even though this gives us a sophisticated use, it will not give the 100% access to your complete hardware. So to get the 100% hardware and then get some whatever not available in .NET framework, you will be able to do it directly using WinRM. So that's the thing. Okay. So point here is you can also use the get hyphen member to see the property and then methods, all those things, and then you can also use it. Now let's come back to okay. Here, let's say the same thing, get hyphen process or service, let's say. And I said, whenever you want to connect to another computer, all you need to do is hyphen computer name and put the computer name and hit enter. If the computer name is valid, it will actually go ahead and connect to the remote computer using WinRM or WMI management. And this is my local computer. Okay. Let's say I put this will not return anything because there is no computer name with that particular name, so it will give an error. Okay, considering this as a remote machine, this will be actually, this is how you will be actually getting the remote information, right? So very similarly, how we use hyphen computer name, that's the same thing you will be actually using here as well. Okay, win get WMA object win32 hyphen computer name can be anything, your actual IP address or the FQDN or the host name, all those things. Okay, and you see the you'll be seeing a lot of different things. Okay, like how it is actually getting displayed, all those things. So that one thing, and let us see the last one more thing. Okay, here get hyphen WMA object. Hyphen query is the actual query I mentioned right here. Here it is. Here we type the query, right? Okay, so that's the exact query we can pass right here. Okay, the exact query, whatever you want, you can send it here. This WMI will go execute the query and then get the output for you. Okay, so what this query will be doing, and you don't have to remember. Okay, why this will be happening. I'll just to, you might be wondering, right, when everything is there, why we need. Okay, there will be one or two scenarios will be happening. Okay, first, what some properties, okay, and methods will only be available through WMI. Okay, that's the main thing why we need to learn the WMI. Okay, if it is available through .NET framework, I mean through the normal command, you don't have to go for it at all. Okay, so that's the first thing. Whatever is not available there, you can get it from here. Okay, that's the whole point. Okay, so that's the reason we are learning everything. And other than that, sometimes this WMI, right, that will be not be blocked, or you don't need additional ports to be opened, all those things, because WinRM will be actually by default opened. Okay, between computers, WinRM, and then what are the port for that, and then WMI is the same port. I mean, about the ports, this will be kind of dynamic port. Okay, it will use a lot of dynamic ports. All you need to do is if they allow WinRM, mostly WMI will also work. Okay, so sometimes .NET framework will not work through when you are trying to trigger some function or trying to communicate with some other computers and needs some ports to be open. But when you are using these things, these are all kind of native things. Okay, native protocols, and then it will be allowed so that you can without compromising the security, you can do. So that's one or two scenario where you will be doing. And the third thing, whatever I'm saying, right, few things will not be directly available through let's say, when I say directly available, only through query only through select star or update star, those kind of query will be available. Okay, so that in that case you have to only use hyphen query, and whatever the custom query you are trying to do, you can pass only through WMI object, and then you can do it. So those are the three things. Okay, again here whatever the example we are showing is something we can do from the .NET itself, but to make this point we can query and then get it. That are all the things. So that are the two or three benefits. It might look as of now maybe very identical, but when you actually go and do it, you might be actually literally see some things that is very mandatory will be missing. Okay, and then you will be able to get it from the WMI. And let's see a few other examples. Whenever there is hyphen computer name, that is the remote computer. Okay, and here let's say computer name is IT Big Bang. Okay, and hyphen class is win32 underscore, let us say BIOS again, and then credential. Okay, credential is something I'll be passing like this. Okay, let's say here I'm going to pass it as just dot slash administrator. Okay, and you can pass anything. Okay, let's hit enter. It will ask for you for the credential. Let's say you are trying to connect to your secured machine, and then you have administrator credential. This is how you will be actually passing through the WMA object. And now even though let's say I open a command prompt and I type who am I. Okay, it might be IT Big Bang slash Elite Lands is my username, but since I'm passing dot slash, or it can be domain name as well. Let's say itbigbang.com/administrator, and then test whatever the IP, whatever the password, and hit enter. This command will connect to this computer, hyphen computer, whatever the computer, and retrieve this information using this credential. Okay, so that is using a credential. And since we talked about credential, let's quickly cover the credential as well. Okay, how to actually get a credential and store a credential and use a credential. Now we are able to type it. So what if I want to let's say is equal to get hyphen credential. Okay, this is a command to get and store a credential. Domain name, or let's say Microsoft/Nitish and password. Okay, and hit enter. This will be stored in credentials, and you could see the username, and nobody can see the secure string. Okay, it's just like even though you are the schema level administrator or enterprise level administrator in Active Directory, even though you are able to go to ADS edit, or and then you can see all the users, all their properties. If you go and see their password, it will be showing like this only. It will be a secure string. You will not able to see the password of others. Only you can reset their password. Okay. So similarly, this cannot be changed. Okay. This is something you cannot be read. Okay, but you can use it in the same previous example, right? Credential. In spite of I don't want people, I mean, I don't want to be prompted, I can just pass it, using this get hyphen credential. That will pass it and then use it. So that's about WMI. And is there anything important? Okay, this is something we can try. And I'm going to run this. Okay, WinRM and hit enter. First of all, we know it's actually fetching all the information. Okay, now consider this information and consider this, and this will happen to you actually, everyone actually. let's say this is the objective. Objective is to uh, do an inventory of a particular, so let's say here we take it as a service, or let's say any hardware, okay, or a software. Okay. Now, if I type a command get hyphen and then without, if I type this, what will happen is, and in my objective number of computers is 100, let's say, or let's say 1000. Okay. And in one computer, okay, if I just type, I'm loading this many information. Okay. It's not only getting, even though it is displaying only 3 or 4 information, it is actually getting the entire object, okay, and then loading it to my local machine, okay, which is my console. Consider I'm doing this for 1000 computers and it is all loading here. How, and I mean, first thing, okay, let's say if I'm doing that, what will happen to the network? The network will be, highly utilized, and because I'm fetching this much information just for doing some kind of simple thing, okay. Let's say you are doing it on a daily basis, you will be actually utilizing a lot of, network bandwidth, okay, even though it is a local bandwidth, it's gonna slow down others, right? So that is the impact. And again, while you are querying the other WinRM in another machine, that is gonna get all the information, gonna send it to you, and your WinRM will be like receiving from 1000 computers, and all the information will be in 200 300 services. Finally you are getting everything, putting it together, and then you are going to manipulate that, which is completely very CPU utilization will be high, network utilization will be high, all those things. Since we know this is mostly will be used for connecting the remote computers and perform operation, Microsoft has a command called, okay, hyphen filter. Okay, let's say this is the command. Okay, this is the command. I hit enter, and first thing, okay, technically what will happen is this filter is not applying or not getting applied in your, let's say this is the one, okay, you are in a source machine and you are executing a filter, or you are asking to filter. The filter is actually applied in the destination, means it's not actually taking all the 100 or 300 services from here. It's sending it to you through network. Let's say this is the network, okay, and then not your local machine, your source, this machine is not doing the filtering, okay, no filtering here. The filtering is applied in the destination, okay, from where it is coming from. Means if I filter here, okay, this filter will be filtering here only this particular information, only what are this one object will be sent. That is gonna save me lots and lots of CPU utilization. And also, I mean, in spite of I handle every filtering, if I give it to the destination computers, all these 1000 computers will be doing it and then sending me, and all these will be taken care. So that's the beauty of filter. And you might think, why, what if I use, let's say, where hyphen object, right? Where hyphen object, okay, and dollar underscore dot name service name. Let's try name. Okay, and like WinRM. Okay. Now the key difference here is when I do this. Okay, let's imagine we are doing in the remote computer. Computer name is ITP Bank. Okay, and this is also happening in the remote computer. Computer name IT Big Bang. Okay. The key difference here is when you use where hyphen object, okay, the filtering will not happen in the destination. It will get all the information here, and then this where object will be trying to filter. Okay. So when you are working with a WMI object, do not use the where object, use a filter so that you can utilize it properly. I mean, there is nothing wrong. You are not going to get hurt, and there is nothing wrong as well. But you get the point, right? Because for us as an administrator, how fast we are doing with less resource without affecting the actual service is does matters, right? So that is the filter, and that's an important concept as well. When you are actually dealing with a lot of machines, make sure you're sending the credentials with a credential hyphen credential and using filter, okay, with this one. And I'll just again compare these two. Okay, I put hyphen filter, and in this I'm just putting win in here. It's a dollar underscore name. This is something we know, very familiar now. But now name is equals WinRM. Okay, how come we never use equals? I mean, equal is actually hyphen equal in PowerShell, right? So how come this is actually working? It's nothing but how we are actually using this, right? Query. This whatever we are sending, right? This is a SQL query, very kind of SQL database query, right? Similarly, it is called WMI query. So in this, okay, let us say you see this drive type where drive type is equals to 3. That's the format to filter. That's why we are using the same format. Okay, so whenever we are using WMI object, keep in the back of the mind always it is actually going to convert to a query which is called WMI query. Okay, and I said right here. This is the one query the WMI, or it's called WMI query. So that's about it, and then that's the reason why it is okay. And again, this is all something you will be you don't have to remember. Just if you know the reason why I started from the beginning, okay, let's say why, what is WMI, what is a common info, all these things is when you know the fundamentals why we are doing it. Okay, people will be just copy and paste it, and they are going to execute it, and you are going to also get the same result. But what is the mastery is you know what is exactly happening. And if I ask you, okay, or your manager or your interviewer or anyone ask you why is this, or not even they ask you explain this is why I'll be using filter, they just ask you do you know what is WMI, and then you give the typical answer. With that you are just going to add one information. I'll also do hyphen filter because this is what I'm going to save. That is going to make you the top 1%, because everyone knows by doing this, but nobody, most of the people will not be knowing. Even though you go to the Microsoft website itself, all it will give is this commands. It will not actually, not even try to make you understand why this is, where it is actually coming, what is the connection between WMI, why it's actually so not well documented. It will just say it is not documented. Okay, not well documented. If you are a normal person like me, I'll just read it. Okay, it is not well documented. None of the Microsoft product is well documented. I'll just take it as a thing. But when I give you the context why it is not well documented, now you know entirely. Now you know how to exactly use it. Why? What is the exact difference between the normal WMA object and then the .NET object? All those things. And you also not now you know what is a CIM class, all those things, right? That is another the same thing, okay, but another upgraded command, okay. That is all we need, okay. So being said that, that is what I want to cover. Very important concept, okay, because when you are doing an inventory and when you are doing multiple things and when you are getting more in depth in PowerShell with an object, you'll be using this. And that's all about WMA object. Okay, and let us end this today's session. And thanks for your time. And let's rock and roll.